Hello everyone, in this video I'll show you essential HTML concepts that you must know in order to get started on your project right away. Let's roll the intro. So to get started you first need to create a file. Let's call it index.html. It's a pretty common name. And when you are in VS Code you can just type in HTML and then go to the HTML5 and that'll generate the boiler template, which as you can see there's an HTML tag here, which is your main document. This head tag contains all the metadata about your document, like how much to scale it initially and what the title of the document is, and then this body section is where you'll be typing most of your code, and that's what the user will see right here. So if I change the title to FSC HTML tutorial, see that when I reload, the FSC HTML tutorial appears right here. And you might be wondering how it updated like that. It's because I have an extension called Live Server, and you might have noticed when I saved the code it formatted it correctly. That's because I have Prettier installed, and I also went to the preferences, file preferences. In the settings I have on save, format on save turned on, and I have the default formatter as esb-enp.prettier-vs code. So that will help you format your files without you having to do anything besides just saving. Once we're here, we can start with the basics. So the first thing I wanted to go over is what a div is. A div is essentially just a section of your code that has elements inside of it, and you can essentially apply styles and all of the other stuff to that div, and it will be applied to all the elements inside as well. So when you start, you can just write div like this, and as you saw, VS Code comes equipped with Emmet, so as soon as you type you'll see it's an Emmet abbreviation. If you just type in enter, it will format it properly. I will add some elements inside of there. So the first elements I wanted to go over were the H1 to H6 tags, which are essentially how you provide titles and subtitles to your code. So let me just add H1 through H6, and I'll just add H2, add H3, H4, H5, and H6. And you might have noticed how when I change this side, the text over here changes as well. That's because I have auto rename tag. And you probably also noticed one more thing is when I type something, the first opening tag is written and then the closing tag is written automatically. That's because I have auto close tag installed. Okay, so moving on, let's just have hello world inside of these tags. Hello world. I'll press Alt and then I'll go down to all of these and press Ctrl V, and when I save it gets formatted, and you can see that the tags appear here. You can see that H1 is much larger than H6, so I'll add a background color, which you don't have to worry about. This is more CSS than anything. I'll show it in another video, but this will just help separate some of the items. Okay, so as you can see, the color is green now. And one thing I wanted to show you also is that when you're coding in HTML, it's very useful to see all of your elements in a nice snapshot. And what you can do that by pressing the right click button and then inspect, which you can see you can bring up with this. Usually you can press just F12. And you can see that it brings up a console like this, which has all of your elements in here. When you hover over them, you'll see the different elements and you can collapse and expand them. And you can see here's our div. Inside our div we have our 6 H tags, H1 through H6. And you can see that if I click on this button here, I can actually see what the color, the font size, and other attributes about it. So you can see font size is 32, and for this one, the font size is 10. Alright, so moving on to the next elements that I wanted to discuss are the P tags. So let's make a div. With Emmet you can just type in the tag type in multiplied by, and then how many of them you want, and it will give you that amount. So let me just have some generic text in here. I'll use lorem ipsum, which if you don't know is just random text. And then I'll do the same thing here. Okay, so let me just change the color of the background here. So it's just a different color. Let me make it like yellow. Slide that over a little bit. And the way you get there is you just hover over this and you can pick your colors like this. So when I save, you can see it's yellow. So the next thing I wanted to discuss is what happens if you want to add some comments to your code. The way you do that is with a less than sign, then exclamation mark, 2 dashes, and you can see it auto-completed. And you can just type in your comment. Next, I'll just type into the next paragraph. Paragraph will be ignored. So this comment essentially means that this will be ignored. If I actually want the next paragraph to be ignored, I can just highlight it all with my mouse, press Control and then /, and that will comment out that paragraph. So if I save, you'll see that that paragraph is ignored. What you can also do is you can apply a tag called span. And why this is useful, let me just put it around a word here, is let's say I want to apply a specific style to just a couple words in this paragraph. Well, if I apply the style here, it will apply to the entire paragraph. But if I use span, I can control which words I apply the styling to. So let me just make it color red. And you can see that the color changes to red here. Some other tags which are useful are the B tag, which makes the text inside appear bold, as you can see. The I tag, which makes the text inside appear in italics, as you can see. And the U tag, which makes the text inside appear underlined, as you can see. Alright, so moving on, the next section I wanted to discuss is ordered and unordered lists. The first one I'll go over is the unordered list. Let me just copy this style and change the background color to, let's say, something in a reddish. So the first one, I'll just add a heading of H3. The H3 heading will be an unordered list. To start an unordered list, you type in UL, which stands for unordered list, and then you will have as many list items as you want to appear in that list. So let's say item 1, and then I'll have item 2, and then item 3. So when I save, you see it's unordered, which means that it'll just be bullets, which you can actually change using CSS later, but that's not very important for this video. And then if we copy paste this, say this is the ordered list. It's ordered list. So for ordered is just OL. You'll see that ordered lists have they're numbered from 1 all the way to how many items you have. One tag that I want to show you that's somewhat useful sometimes is the HR tag, which essentially just adds a line, horizontal line, to the screen. You can see it right here, which you can style with CSS. The next ones I wanted to talk about are links and images. Let me just make a style here so you can see it clearly. Let me make this a bit blue. Okay, so the next thing is the A tag. The A tag has some text inside, so let's just say Google's website. And then inside the A tag it has some attributes which you need to assign. So in this case it's href, and href is just the the URL to where the link navigates to. So in this case, it will be https www.google.com. As we can see, that generates a link here, which we can click, and it will go to google.com. But you notice that it replaced our page when we clicked on it. Usually the way I handle it is I say the target equals blank, and what this does is when I click on this, it opens in a new tab and our tab stays intact. The next tag I wanted to discuss is an image tag. An image tag is self-closing, which means that it doesn't have anything inside of it, and it takes in a source, so a path to the image. It takes an alt, which is just an alternative description. You can also take other parameters, which are usually set with CSS, but in this case I'll just set them here. The height and the width, we'll just set them both to 300 pixels. Okay, so for the source, you actually need to add an image to your folder, and the way I do this is I just copy an image that I have ready and I post it in here. You can see that it's added. It's just an image of a dog looking into the distance. So let me update that description. Doggy looking into the distance. And the path is given with dog.jpg. I recommend using the // notation, although you can not have them here and it will still work. It just makes it much easier to follow. And you can see that when I save, the image is uploaded here. But you can see that the link and the image are on the same line, so what can you do quickly to move them onto separate lines? Adding space will not do anything. You can see I saved, nothing happened. But what you can do is you can have a BR tag, which again is self-closing, like the HR tag and the image tag. And BR essentially adds a line break to the elements. You can see the link is now above the image. Okay, so moving on to the very last thing I wanted to discuss is, let's say you want your user to input something. So you can take what they're inputting and do something with it. So the way you do that is through inputs. Let me just have a text input here, and I'll actually style this first, sorry. Just to make it easier to see. Just make it grayish, and I'll have another div inside because I want to have two inputs. So for the text input, what you want to do is you want to have the input tag, and the type will be text. You can see it auto-populated. So when I hit save, you can see that. Let me just make the style a bit lighter. You can see that the input is here and we can type something. What if we want to have a label for this input? So first we need to provide a name. So let's say user text. And then we need to give it a label for user text. And now we want to give it the actual label. So that goes inside. So the label will be enter text. And you can see that it shows up here. This input is good, but let's say we want to have another type of input which allows the user to input the date that they want. So let's say date input, and we'll have here user date, and then this will be type date. And if you're not sure which types are available or not available, you can simply click here, click Control space, and it will show you all the different types that you can have. So in my case, I selected the date. Let's say date here, enter the date. So you can see enter date, and now it's in the date input. So when they click on it, they can select a different date, and it will show up here. One more thing that's useful is to have buttons. So you add a button tag, And in our case, the type will be, we can see there are many types, we just use the button type. Inside the button, we just type in what we want to say. So let's say click me. And you see we have a button. Here we can say go. So that's it for this video. If you haven't already, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to support the channel and see more videos just like this one. Thank you for watching and have a great day.